Picture this, you're hungry, not bored hungry, real hungry. The kind that comes after a full day of work, when your body expects a meal and there's almost nothing in the house. No takeout, no fridge stocked with options, no quick trip to the store, just a sack of beans, a bit of cornmeal, maybe something hanging in the smokehouse if you're lucky. Now, here's the part most people today wouldn't believe. Families didn't just survive like this, they built entire food traditions around it. Meals that filled stomachs, stretched pennies, and carried memories that still haven't faded. Some of these dishes might sound strange now. Some might remind you of something your grandparents used to make. And a few you may wish you had never heard of, but every single one tells a story. And once you hear them, you don't forget them. Number 1. Soup beans and cornbread. If there was one meal that held Appalachian families together, it was this one. Soup beans and cornbread. A pot of dried pinto beans, slow cooked for hours until the water turned thick and rich. If there was a ham bone or a bit of fatback, it went in early, flavoring everything. If not, you made do without it. Because this meal wasn't about perfection, it was about making something out of almost nothing. Cornbread sat beside it, not as a side, but as part of the meal itself. Crumbled into the beans, soaked in the broth, filling enough to keep you going. This wasn't quick food. It stayed on the stove most of the day, feeding anyone who walked through the door. And maybe that's why people still remember it. Because it wasn't just cheap, it was dependable. Number 2, cornbread and milk. Now this one might stop you for a second. Cornbread and milk, that's it. No meat, no vegetables, no seasoning beyond what was already in the bread. Just crumbled cornbread dropped into a bowl and covered with cold milk. To most people today, it sounds like a snack, maybe even something you'd only eat if there was nothing else left. But for thousands of families, this was dinner. Corn was everywhere in Appalachia. It grew well, stored easily, and didn't cost much to produce. Milk, if you had a cow, was just as common. Together, they became something more than simple ingredients. They became a reliable meal, quick to prepare, filling enough to satisfy, and familiar in a way that stuck with people for life. Even now, some remember the exact taste, not because it was special, but because it was always there. Number 3, poke salad with eggs. This is the kind of dish that sounds simple until you realize it could make you sick if you didn't know exactly what you were doing. Poke salad with eggs. Pokeweed grows wild across the Appalachian hills, easy to find, completely free, and dangerous. The roots and berries are toxic. Even the leaves can be harmful if they're not prepared the right way. So people learned. The leaves had to be boiled, then drained, then boiled again. Sometimes more than once, every round, pulling out what could hurt you. That knowledge wasn't written down. It was passed from one generation to the next, quietly, carefully. Once it was safe, the greens were fried with eggs or a bit of bacon grease. Slightly bitter, earthy, filling. To an outsider, it might seem like too much effort for a wild plant. But when food was scarce, knowing how to turn something dangerous into dinner, that wasn't just cooking. That was survival. Number 4, Squirrel and Dumplings. This is where the menu starts to feel unfamiliar to most people today. Squirrel and dumplings, not something you'd find in a modern kitchen. But in the Appalachian woods, it made perfect sense. Squirrels were everywhere. They didn't need to be raised, fed, or bought. If you had a rifle and a little patience, you had meat. The cooking was slow and deliberate. The meat simmered in a pot until it softened, until it nearly fell off the bone. Then came the dumplings. Simple dough dropped straight into the broth. What came out wasn't fancy, but it was hearty, warm, filling in a way that lasted. And if you closed your eyes, it wouldn't be that different from chicken and dumplings. The only difference was where it came from. Because in those mountains, hunting wasn't a pastime. It was part of putting food on the table. Number 5, Fatback and Beans. Most people today have never even heard of it. Fatback. No fancy cut, no lean meat, just a thick layer of pork fat, salted and preserved so it could last. And yet, this was one of the most important ingredients in the entire Appalachian kitchen. Because when you dropped a small piece into a pot of beans, everything changed. As it slowly cooked, the fat melted into the broth, turning plain beans into something rich, something satisfying. Not just food, a real meal. You didn't need much. In fact, you rarely had much. That was the point. Fatback stretched flavor across an entire pot. It made cheap ingredients feel complete. And when money was tight, that mattered more than anything. Number 6, Dandelion Greens with bacon. Most people see dandelions and think one thing: weeds, something to pull out of the yard and throw away. But in the Appalachian hills, those same plants were food. Dandelion greens, picked young before they turned too bitter, brought into the kitchen and cooked down in a pan. A little bacon grease if you had it, sometimes actual bacon if times were good. That bitterness never fully disappeared. It wasn't meant to. Because this dish wasn't about comfort, it was about nourishment. These greens were packed with vitamins, iron, and other things the body needed, especially in places where doctors were far away and store-bought food wasn't an option. So people learned to use what grew around them, to see value where others saw nothing. And over time, something as ordinary as a dandelion became part of dinner, not because it tasted amazing, but because it kept people going. Number 7, chocolate gravy and biscuits. After all the struggle now and then, something sweet found its way to the table. Chocolate gravy and biscuits. And no, it wasn't what most people imagine when they hear the word gravy. This was cocoa powder, sugar, a little flour, and milk, cooked slowly until it turned into a smooth, rich sauce, then poured over fresh, hot biscuits. Simple ingredients, but together it felt like something special. This wasn't everyday food. It couldn't be. Sugar and cocoa weren't always easy to come by, and when they were used carefully, which is exactly why this dish mattered. It showed up on mornings that felt different, holidays, gatherings, moments when someone wanted to turn an ordinary day into something worth remembering. Because even in places where life was hard, people still made room for a little sweetness. And sometimes, that's what stayed with you the longest. Number 8, tomato gravy and biscuits. Most people think gravy needs meat, drippings, fat, something heavy. But in the Appalachian kitchen, you used what the season gave you. And in summer, that meant tomatoes. Tomato gravy and biscuits started with fresh or canned tomatoes, cooked down slowly in a pan. A little flour to thicken it, a bit of fat if you had it, sometimes even a splash of milk to soften the sharpness. What you got was something unexpected, tangy, savory, rich in its own way. Poured over warm biscuits, it turned into a full meal, not a side, not an extra. A meal built almost entirely from the garden and a few pantry staples. It didn't rely on meat. It didn't need to. Because when tomatoes were in season, they carried the whole dish on their own. And for families who learned to cook with what was available, that was more than enough. Number 9, rabbit stew. Before supermarkets made meat easy, it had to be found, raised, or caught. And rabbit was one of the most practical choices. Rabbit stew wasn't fancy, it didn't need to be. Wild rabbits could be hunted, and some families kept them in small backyard hutches. They didn't take much space, didn't eat much, and reproduced quickly. That made them reliable. The meat went into a pot with whatever was on hand: potatoes, onions, maybe a few carrots or root vegetables from the garden. Then it all simmered, slowly, until everything softened and blended together. A single rabbit didn't look like much at first, but after hours in that pot, it turned into something that could feed an entire family. That was the goal. Not abundance, but stretching what you had as far as it could go. Because in those times, making a little feel like enough was its own kind of skill. Number 1, onion sandwich. This might be the simplest meal on the entire list, and for some people, the hardest to understand. An onion sandwich. Just thick slices of raw onion placed between 2 pieces of bread. A pinch of salt. Maybe a little mustard if it was around. No cooking, no preparation, no cost beyond what was already in the kitchen. To modern ears, it sounds extreme, but this wasn't about taste. It was about reality. There were days when time was short, money was tighter, and you still had to put something on the table. And this did the job. Sharp, strong, filling enough to get through the day. It's easy to look back and see only hardship in a meal like this, but for the people who lived it, there was something else there too. A quiet determination. Because even with almost nothing, they still found a way to eat. These weren't just cheap meals. They were survival, turned into tradition, food made from whatever was there by people who refused to go without. Most of these dishes are gone now, but the stories behind them are still worth remembering.